Pep Guardiola is a ruthless man when it comes to footballing decisions. It doesn't matter who you are or what your status is, if you don't fit into his system, he's getting rid of you. Let's take a look at a combined starting 11 of players Guardiola has gotten rid of. Joe Hart. There is going to come a point this season when Joe Hart wakes up, has a look at James Collins and Robert Snodgrass in front of him, and wonders just what has happened to his career. 2 years ago, Hart was the #1 goalkeeper at Manchester City, and had been since wrestling Shay Given out of the picture in 2010. He's made close to 350 appearances for the club, winning 2 league titles, 3 domestic cups, and 4 Golden Glove awards. But apparently that's not enough for Guardiola, who prefers his goalkeepers to be able to dictate play from the back. But by signing Claudio Bravo last summer, he proved that saving shots aren't really a priority. After spending last season on loan at Torino, Hart is temporarily now at West Ham, and you can't help but feel he's playing the long game and just waiting for the Catalan boss to leave before he does. Pablo Zabaleta. At least Hart isn't alone in his exile to West Ham. Pablo Zabaleta was the only other remnant from the Man City squad that had been around before the club underwent the financial makeover in 2008. The Argentine has been a virtual ever-present during his 9 seasons in Manchester, but at 32 years of age, the time was probably right for him to move on and allow the club to replace him with fresher legs. Dante. There was a point during Guardiola's 2nd season in charge of Bayern Munich that he told the media that he wished he had 1,000 Dantes. Within a couple of months, he wouldn't even have one. While his fantasy would have been a nightmare to watch, Dante on the wing, the Brazilian was sold to Wolfsburg at the end of the season, 2 months after being substituted after half an hour against Hanover. Dmitry Chigrinsky. Okay, let's get this straight. Dmitry Chigrinsky was never a star for Barcelona. He was a bumbling, error-strewn waste of time who belonged at the Nou Camp as much as I did. He was signed from Shakhtar Donetsk in August 2009 for €25 million and put pen to paper on a 5-year contract. He only lasted 1 of those years, playing 14 times before being returned to centre at the end of the season. He's currently on the books of AEK Athens, and he's probably sick to the teeth of everybody asking him what Messi's like in training. Maxwell. While some players left on bad terms with Guardiola, not looking at anyone in particular, that cannot be said for Maxwell, who practically left the Nou Camp fist-bumping his manager out the door. The Brazilian left-back, who was ironically best buddies with Zlatan, had acquitted himself well during his 3 seasons in Catalonia, helping the club win everything there is, and Guardiola claimed he was disciplined, hard-working and ambitious, while the left-back labelled him the best coach he ever had. The former Ajax and Inter Milan fullback quickly left for PSG. I'm surprised he didn't move to Manchester United last summer too. Bastian Schweinsteiger. For a man who's only 32 years old, for his career to have fallen around his ankles so quickly is quite surprising. Well, let's not get too dramatic, the man is a multimillionaire and married to Anna Ivanovic, but still. 3 years ago he was a world champion and was about to embark on a 3rd consecutive Bundesliga title with Bayern Munich. Today he's currently getting asked by brain-dead reporters if he can win the World Cup with Chicago Fire. The German legend spent 13 seasons at Bayern Munich, playing in 500 games for the club, and despite scoring a title-clinching goal in his final season, was allowed to leave for Man United for a measly £6.5 million. Come on lads, Jay Rodriguez cost more than that. Guardiola cited his poor condition and injuries as the catalyst behind his exit, but remained confident that he would succeed in Manchester. Let's not get into that one. Yaya Toure. Yaya Toure's relationship with Manchester City already seemed like it was hanging by a thread ever since they forgot to buy him a cake. So when Pep Guardiola arrived last summer, the man who sold him to Man City in the first place, it looked like he'd be out the door quicker than you could say Juan Mata. In July 2010, Guardiola was more than pleased to allow Toure to move on to City for £24 million, and according to his agent, had been told by his boss that he was joining a team, which is all kinds of awkward now. The two look to be back on good terms now, with Toure having bounced back from his omission at the start of last season, and with his agent seemingly having been told to shut up. Deco. Deco was plucked from Porto to Barcelona after being instrumental to their Champions League success in 2004 and repeated the trick 2 years later. The Portuguese playmaker, the lad's Brazilian, looked to have done everything to secure his long-term future at the Nou Camp. When Guardiola arrived in 2008, one of the first things he did was announce that that was not the case. Deco subsequently booted out to Chelsea in an £8 million deal before he could even realise what it was that he'd done. Ronaldinho. For years the rhetoric went that Guardiola had arrived at the Nou Camp in 2008, took one look at Ronaldinho's flabby love handles and demanded he pack his bags for Italy before he ended up dragging Messi to the pub. According to both men, however, Guardiola actually wanted the Brazilian icon to stay, and it was Ronaldinho who had made up his mind to seek a new adventure. It seems hard to know how Ronaldinho would have fared in Guardiola's high-intensity system though, where the philosophy was to win the ball back in an instant. Step-overs and elasticos are all well and good, but that's not what Guardiola looks for in a player, so it's no surprise that Giovanni Dos Santos, or Ronaldinho's supposed heir, was also tossed on the scrap heap that summer. Samuel Eto'o. Along with Deco and Ronaldinho, Samuel Eto'o made up the triumvirate of players that Guardiola announced had no future at the club. Well, Pep was wrong. Eto'o's future would consist of 36 goals the following season, as part of the treble-winning side, including a strike in the final against Manchester United. Enough to save him? You would think so, but no, it wasn't. In 2009, he was booted out to Inter Milan in a cash-plus player deal for Zlatan Ibrahimovic, a player who'd go on to describe Guardiola as a spineless coward. As a way to throw the two fingers straight up at Pep, Eto'o went on and won a consecutive treble at Inter Milan the following season. Not one of Guardiola's finest decisions. Mario Mandzukic. Mario Mandzukic is arguably one of the underrated strikers of his generation. Signed by Bayern Munich in 2012, he spent 2 seasons at the club, scoring 48 goals in 88 games, including one in the 2013 Champions League final at Wembley. He left after just 1 season of working alongside Guardiola, with Robert Lewandowski arriving on a mouth-watering free transfer.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and also check out HITC7s.